So this is a new series that I'm going to be doing actually, where I'm just going to talk about each team in the NBA and just what I think their floor and their ceiling is for this NBA season. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm actually filming this video in daylight, which is something I very rarely do, and I think it does make me look a bit better. And then obviously there is 30 teams in the NBA, so this will take up my content for quite a while, but should be fun. And if any of you have any video suggestions, please leave them down in the comments below and I'll make sure to do them if they're good ideas. And then obviously, as you can see from the title, in this video I'll be discussing the Los Angeles Lakers, who I have as my favourite, and I think that's a popular opinion. But of course, let's discuss why. Obviously, the two main players for the Lakers are LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are also the best duo in the league. Even though LeBron will be 36 for this season, he's still one of the best players in the world, and throughout this year, I think he'll keep that title. While we are already seeing that LeBron is not as athletic and agile as he once was, he has improved his game in many other ways. You could argue that LeBron is the best passer he's ever been, and his 10.2 assists per game last season would back you up on this claim. His rebounding hasn't really taken a hit or got any better in recent times, and so LeBron is still a solid rebounder. Another area of LeBron's game that's worth talking about is his shooting, and although LeBron is not known as a great shooter, he's far better now than he used to be. Although his 3-point shooting percentage wasn't great last season at 35%, he shot the most threes ever in his career with 6.3 a game, so he gets a pass for me. And LeBron's overall scoring has barely taken a hit, 25 points a game last season in his 17th year in the league. And in the playoffs, he was as great as ever, stepping up his scoring, rebounding and assisting as usual. And LeBron's longevity just speaks for itself. 11 finals appearances in 17 seasons is just absolutely insane. If you have LeBron on your team, you're more likely heading to the finals than not. And that's just obviously one of the reasons why LeBron is one of the greatest players of all time. But now let's move on to Anthony Davis, who is incredible in the playoffs this season. 28 points a game with 10 rebounds, and that's not even mentioning how good his defense was. Currently in the league, he's the most versatile big man there is, and he can score from anywhere. 3-pointers, mid-range shots, layups, dunks, he can do the lot. And there is no other big man who can do it quite as well as AD. Anthony Davis is only going to get better as well, as he's 27 years old, a full 8 years younger than LeBron. Now, I don't expect AD to have the longevity like LeBron has, but he has at least another 6 years at this prime, or possibly even better. Even with the Lakers winning the championship last season, they still managed to make their team even better during the offseason. Their biggest signings were Montrezl Harrell, Marc Gasol and Dennis Schroeder, all great players. With the loss of Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, they needed some new centres, and Gasol and Harrell are great replacements. They're both great on the defensive end, and Marc Gasol will add some more veteran leadership to the Lakers. And with Harrell just winning 6th Man of the Year, I think he'll start the majority of this season with the Lakers at the centre position. He may not have much of an offensive game, but his defensive game more than makes up for it. Then the Lakers didn't just sign their 6th Man of the Year, but also the runner-up in Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder will likely come off the bench still this season, but he'll be a great impact player, and also a great backup point guard to LeBron, who will likely play the point guard position again this season. Schroeder isn't much of a passing guard though, and does excel in getting his own points, with him averaging 19 points a game last season and shot over 38% from free, so I think he could be really valuable for the Lakers. What I also wouldn't be surprised to see with Dennis Schroeder is if they switch him up, play him at shooting guard and just play him off the ball, as I think he'd really succeed in that position too. Then their main other players are Markieff Morris, Kyle Kuzma, KCP, and then of course Alex Caruso. Markieff Morris is a solid power forward and will be a great role player once again. Kyle Kuzma will still have a pretty good future I think, but at the moment he gets way too much hate. There was even a petition by Laker fans for Kuzma not to receive a ring, which obviously never got anywhere, but the fact that was even made is just outrageous. And I do rate Kyle Kuzma, and I think he'll get even better this season and have another solid season for the Lakers. KCP will start more often this season I think, as he turned up well in the playoffs and shot close to 40% from free. He also plays quite well in the system that Lakers have, so I wasn't surprised to see that they've kept him around. Then Alex Caruso was obviously mentioned as a joke, but he actually has a really good impact off the bench for the Lakers. He's definitely a great glue guy too, as whenever he has a great play you can see how hyped his teammates get. And Alex Caruso as well just seems like such a nice guy, and I hope he stays around the league for many more seasons. So now my floor and ceiling for the Lakers, and obviously my ceiling is going to be the number 1 seed and then the NBA championship. And no surprises with that, but the floor is more interesting to discuss. Because the only team I could really see finishing above them in the regular season is the Los Angeles Clippers. So with that being said, their floor has to be the number 2 seed, which is obviously very, very high still. And then for the playoffs, is there any team that I can't see the Lakers beating in a 7-game series? And I don't think there is, not in the West at least. So then for me, their floor would be making the finals but losing. Obviously, I understand that's a very, very high floor, but with how good the Lakers are, it's expected. So that's my predictions for the Lakers this season. In my next video, I think I'll do the Clippers, just as I briefly mentioned them here, so it just makes sense too. So if you want to see that next video, be sure to subscribe and like this video as well. That really does help me out. And then as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.